Oh my gosh. So, as you can see, we've managed to catch up with this leopard. So we have Shadow that's busy walking through here. It's not Karula like we hoped it would be, but still, it's nice to see Shadow. I wonder where she's off to. She's going probably into a horrible area. It really is very, very dense and very thick in here. So we're going to try keep up with her, but it seems like she's marching her way straight back into Simamili, Arathusa, that area. And like I say, going straight through the thickest bush possible, which is very typical of Shadow. But nice to see her. She's looking healthy and well. I don't think there's any sign of the little ones this morning. There was no tracks for the little ones. So it looks like just her. And she was trying to hunt some impala, apparently, when the guys found her, which is great that she was looking for food. It means that maybe she'll slow down for us a little bit. Isn't she beautiful? Look, there we go. She stopped. Really pretty leopard. Like I say, she's looking very, very healthy. She could do with a meal, but otherwise looking good. You can see the little white tip of that tail wagging. Very, very pretty girl. Now let's see where she's going to go from here. I'm sure she's going to go straight west again. That's where she's been hanging around mostly in the last few weeks. So I'm sure that's where she's heading. But there might be some sort of prey items. Just careful your head there, Ferg. So there might be some duiker or steenbok that will be hanging around in here, which would be the perfect prey items for Shadow. It's what she would like to go after. So hopefully she's going to come across something and start to stalk, because that'll mean that we'll then be able to spend a lot more time with her. Shadow, though, the way that she does do this. Now, I'm just trying to get out onto the road in front here because she's right here. Here we go. There we go. On to Triple M, as is normal with Shadow. And from here... Oh, is that another leopard in the distance? There was a hyena. And there we go. Now, hopefully she's going to walk straight down. Now, it looked like there was maybe another leopard or a hyena that just crossed south of us here. I couldn't see nicely what it was. It just disappeared into the grass. So I'm going to try and see... when we go forward here, if maybe we'll be able to see her. Now she's going to do a bit of scent marking. So, Miss Sky, you wondering when her cubs were last seen? Just trying to think now when exactly they were last seen. They were seen about 3 weeks ago, I think. And around the same time Karula was last seen, actually. But there has been tracks since then. Look at her up on her back legs. Busy scent marking and sniffing. Isn't that cool? And there's that flim and grimace, so she's busy pulling in the scent that she's picked up into the roof of her mouth to be able to analyze that scent. Amazing. And a little shake. So about 3 weeks ago was the last time she was seen, but tracks of the cubs with her, I had them last week. So the one cub is all I had in terms of the tracks. So hopefully she's going to be marching her way towards wherever she's keeping the cubs at the moment. I'm just giving her a bit of space because I don't want to drive right behind her and then she crosses into Simambili, because we won't be able to follow her there. So I'm hoping that she's going to keep going southwards towards Arathusa side. It looks like she's still got a bit of milk in that tummy, so that's good news. It means that she is producing milk, which is great. Just got to update the guys on the other channel, because otherwise they aren't going to know that she's here, and she's such an elusive leopard at times that it's difficult. Is there any station in the west that copies? If any station can copy me, there's Shadow, there's mobile south on Triple M north. She's just gone south of the old cut line for Simambili Arathusa, going towards the new cut line. And there she goes, straight down the same road she always takes. So she loves to take this road here. And off she goes. I'm just going to roll forward because there's a vehicle behind us so that they can also have a little look. And isn't that beautiful? see if she's going to stop there now. Look at her tails. The tails are so expressive on leopards. That's what, when they see something and they stop, and you find the tail starts to twitch a little bit, it's something that they've noticed. Absolutely incredible. So, John B., you're wondering what Shadow's identifying marks are. John B., I honestly cannot tell you. I just know her from seeing her so often that her face is recognizable for me. I don't know, it's a light nose. She's got that very pink nose, which is unusual for an adult. And then just her sort of very round, small face. And I don't know, when I see her, it's very difficult not to know anybody else. It's the same with Tundi. It's just you see them instantly and you know. I'm sure some of the viewers will be able to help us. So for the viewers out there that do know their identifying or distinguishing features, you can send them through to #SafariLive and we'll be able to discuss them. Since Shadow has now disappeared, and I don't think we're going to be able to follow her where she's going to go now. So I will try and probably head back towards the cut line of Arathusa and Simambili and see if maybe she pops out there and we can then follow her along. But until then, that's going to be it. We have indeed. So luckily for us, she turned south and she's come onto Arathusa, which means that we can follow her and see where she goes. Now, I'm hoping that she's going to lead us towards her little one. Wouldn't that be incredible to see the little one again? And then in the sky, you would be able to see her and we'd be able to then see if they're safe. Now, that's what I'm hoping for. Although she seems to be getting sidetracked with everything, and she keeps stopping and looking into the distance and, you know, tail twitching. So I think she's looking for food more than anything else, but I would imagine that her cub is somewhere in this area. This is the area that she's been spending so much time recently, and her tracks are up and down all over this part of the world. So I'm wondering if this is not where the cubs could roughly be, and while she's on her way back towards them, she's going to watch and see if there's any sign of anything. Now, I wonder if there's maybe something in front of her here that she's seen. Just pull up slowly and just see if maybe there is an impala or something in the bush ahead of her that she can see without disturbing her. I don't want to disturb her in any way. What can you see, girl? Oh, I honestly can't see what she can see, but maybe there's a little drainage line just down from us where we are now, and this would be a great place for things like a duiker to spend time, or nyala, bushbuck. They would all occupy that terrain. So maybe that's what she's seen. You can see the tail is twitching a lot, and she looks very interested in whatever it is that she may have found. Look at how alert her ears are. Focused forward, trying to pick up any sound that could be coming from that area, staring into that drainage line. And I reckon if it's my hair to sort of hedge my bet, I'm going to go with the duiker. That's what it is that she's spotted. But I'm not sure. I can't say 100%, but I think that's what it is. Isn't that beautiful? This little white tail wagging out of the shadows. Very, very pretty. Now, I suppose we're working our way through the lineage to get back towards where Karula is. So hopefully this will be all good signs that Karula will show up soon. We've had Shadow, we've had Shongile. So hopefully now the next one will be Karula. I did have tracks for a female leopard coming east from that large torchwood, which could be Shadow. She does walk in that area, but I did have them and I'm not 100% sure who it could be. So I might go back into that area this afternoon and try and just check where they go. If they turn back towards where we found Shadow, then we know that those are for her, but it could be that maybe Karula's also around as well. Was for an adult female, so it's encouraging. But look at her ears. Her ears are starting to get a little bit tatty now. She's starting to show her age. A couple nicks and cuts out of those ears these days. And it's been a hard life for Shadow. She's had a tough time of it. She's had lots of issues with her cubs. She's really struggled to raise litters of cubs, so lots of sort of fighting with male leopards to protect them, and hyenas and lions, and so she's had a really tough time of it. She's still soldiering on and still trying. I really, really hope that this cub is still alive and that she manages, and that she's able to raise this cub to maturity and we actually see a mature cub coming out. Look at her leopard crawling. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? So Miss Sky, you were saying that she's a 3-4 spot pattern. And look at how she's trying to get into the grass so that she can hide. So she's got those collarbones that are different to other animals in that they're almost a floating collarbone. And it allows her to duck very low and be able to basically effectively leopard crawl her way along. Now, we're really going to struggle to keep up with her in here. It's not friendly at all. And it's not a place that we're going to be able to really follow very easily. But we shall try and persevere and see what we can do. Oh, I've already lost her, to be honest. Let's see, I don't think she would have gone far. She's going to use all this brush to her advantage. So instead of being in a situation where she's out on the road and very exposed, she's going to get into thicket like this, where she can then hide and be able to stalk up close to whatever she's hunting. Now I'm trying to scan for her. It's amazing how quickly this cat disappears. I don't know what she does. It's almost like she runs and dives into thickets. But this would be another time that she's given us a slip if we have indeed. Do you see any sign of her, Ferg?
Nothing from my side,
So I believe all of you are very excited that you've managed to see Shadow, and so am I. I really always love spending time with her, except that she's so difficult to keep up with. I don't know where she's gone now. It wasn't like we were very long behind her. The problem is in this grass, they just disappear. It's so difficult to actually see anything in this grass. No, I lost her completely, but I don't think she could have come this far already, unless she's really striding. I just want to go back and check. There's a little thicket here that's got long grass that looks very leopard-like, and where it would be a good place for her to have spent time. So let's just try and check that area again. So, Billy, you're wondering if leopards are spotted under their fur, so on their skin itself. No, they're not. It's just the fur that is spotted. The skin itself is a uniform coloration and pattern, much like ours is. Now, I think this is where she would have gone, is into this thicket. Now, she's a small little cat, so for her it's going to be quite easy to hide in this grass, and now we've got to kind of keep our wits about us and see where she could have gone to, because she came straight through on this left-hand side here and then disappeared. I don't know where she went from here. But like I say, typical Shadow. I know James had the exact same thing the other day. He was following her and she went off into the bush and absolutely disappeared in 2 minutes. I had the same thing also with her a few weeks ago. So she really is, once she gets into the grass, she knows that she can camouflage super well. She's probably just sitting watching us, waiting for us to kind of move off, and then she'll stand up and start moving again. Well, I don't know about lost and confused, but I'm certainly having struggles with reversing today. But luckily we did find Shadow again. She was trying to hunt some kudu. She was being very ambitious because it was a big male kudu. It wasn't even a female kudu. So there was no way she was going to get that right, but that didn't work, and then she came back onto the road for us. And now we're just slowly edging down the road with her, and she's on her little territorial patrol, and she's walking straight towards us, which is absolutely fantastic. It's what I was hoping for. It's so much nicer to see her face than her backside. Not that she doesn't have a nice tail, but her face is much better to look at. Now, Miss Sky, you were saying earlier an IDing feature is the 3-2 spot pattern above her whiskers. So there we go. That's how we can recognize her, other than just the way that she looks. The 3-2 spot pattern over her whiskers. Now, she's still moving straight towards us, which is great. White Lady Owen, you're wondering how old is Shadow? Well, Shadow should be now about, I would say, she must be just about 9 years old. No, maybe a little bit older, 10 by now. Because Karula had her when she was just over 2.5 years old, and Karula is now 13, so 10 and a half. That's about how old Shadow is now. So she's also getting to the older side of her life. She's still in her prime, but generally female leopards, once they reach about 12, they start then moving down. Well, now she's going to the loo. Isn't that beautiful amongst the green grasses that are growing on either side of the road? Really, really pretty. It's a nice thing about when we've had summer and you get all these long grasses, and especially now because the grasses are starting to go a bit white in colour, so it really is quite pretty when there's these leopards moving through it. See, she's just still coming down. I wonder where she's going. Normally from here her route would be towards Red Dam. That's where she likes to spend a lot of time, so she's going in that way, and I wonder if that's not where the cub is. The last time I saw tracks was around that area, so I'm hoping that she's going to lead us to the cubs. We're going to keep just following her just to make sure and see if we get lucky and she does take us to the cub, should I say, not cubs. I think there's only one left at this stage. Now, I'm hoping she hasn't lost the other one, because that would just be very unpleasant, and I feel so bad for her whenever she loses these cubs. It must be such a traumatic experience. So kittens are cute. You're saying, oh my word, she's so beautiful. She is a pretty cat. I think that her sister might be prettier, but she is a pretty cat as well. I do like her, so I'm just going to try and get a little bit further down the road because we're quite close to where she is now, so I know we're going to lose visual of her around the corner, but I just don't want to be right up in her face while we're reversing, because maybe then she's going to go off the road. And on either side of this area is very dense, thick bush, so I want to try and kind of keep as much distance as I can. And it's a nice thing about having cameras with big zooms, is that you can be quite far away and it still feels like we're right there with her, which is great. But isn't that grass in the background absolutely beautiful? So that chloris grass, it's all catching the light. Spectacular scenery following these cats around at the moment. It's really good, especially when they're on the roads. As soon as they go off the road, then it's not so spectacular. Then you seem to have a hate relationship with the grass. But when you are following a cat like this, it is most definitely a love relationship when the grass is all illuminated in the background. But wherever she's going with great purpose. You can see she's not moving slowly. We've covered quite a bit of ground already, so she's definitely on a mission to get somewhere, and she wants to be in a certain area, so hopefully all will be revealed in time as we follow her along. So I just got to watch where I'm driving as well, because I don't want to reverse myself and Ferg into a buffalo thorn again. I've done that once already this morning. Well, more myself than anybody else, but there we go. So she's now still coming down the road. You see, every now and then she'll stop and just listen and look around. She's obviously still looking for any opportunity to hunt, even though she's ultimately missed opportunities and it's starting to get a little bit late in the day and getting warm. Still, given that she's a leopard will take any opportunity it can. So whether that's the middle of the day, end of the day, they really don't mind. They'll just go after anything at any time. So she's still looking around, still being very aware of her environment, making sure that if there is any opportunity to hunt a prey item, that she takes the chance and tries to do it. So it means that she is hungry, and if she does still have a cub, that cub suckling from her is going to be absorbing so much nutrients. Clara, you're saying if she was really, really desperate and hungry, would she potentially attack a human? Well, yes, she could potentially attack a human. These are wild big cats, and it has happened before. But generally we find that fatalities in humans when it comes to big cats is normally either because of an animal that is injured or an animal that is very old and weak, and it's the last resort for that animal to try and go after a human. They try and avoid it as much as possible. They know humans are dangerous, and that's why they try and avoid it. But yes, if she was desperate, then she might try, and it would be a very big problem then. I don't think she would ever try from a vehicle side of things. The noise of the vehicle and the size of the vehicle is intimidating, but a person on foot, most definitely, if she was just ambling down the road, and especially at night, and she came across a person and she was very hungry, then it's very possible that she could then maybe go after a person. So you've got to always be a little bit careful with the big cats and make sure that you read their warning signs and just watch their behavior. You know, if you see her tail starting to flick and her growling and hissing, then generally it's a sign that she's irritated and then could potentially be aggressive with you. Sorry, my girl, let me get out your way. So the road is going to do a big S-bend now. So sometimes she cuts off here, there we go. And she'll go across, there's a little small drainage line that she goes across to. There's some mud wallows, and then from there she'll do a diagonal straight to Red Dam. So that's where we're going to go now. Now it is very difficult to get across this little riverbed, so what I'm going to try to do is I will try to stay with her as long as possible on this side, and then we might have to just jump around and see if we can find her on the other side. But this is typical Shadow. The amount of times I've tracked her on this route that we're going right now, I can many times that I've done this exact same path that we're doing now. And she was very kind to us. She let us follow in front of her for quite a long way, so very happy that we managed to do that. It was, like I say, so nice to get the front side of her and not just the back all the time. And she's moving as quick as she is now. You often then all you do is just get the back side. So it's nice that she is moving. I wonder, like I say, where she's going and what her plan is. I'm hoping, just really hoping that she's going to go towards Red Dam. She's going to go into that drainage line at Red Dam and she's going to start contact calling. That's what my hope is. If that happens, I will be so excited. I haven't seen this current set of cubs yet. So I'm really hoping that I do get to see them soon, or cub should I say. Right, I think what we're going to do is just try and get around while we've got the chance, while she's stationary, because I can see from the other side there. It's going to be very difficult to get through here, I think. Let's try though. The problem is this area, it gets very wet, and so no, we're not going to be able to get through there. Right, we're going to quickly just get around this riverbed and try and get onto the other side before she disappears. And while we do that, let's go across to Byron and see what he's up to on his walk and whether or not he's starting to head back for his eggs and bacon yet. We all know Byron loves a bit of eggs and bacon, so I'm sure he's starting to make his way back. We have indeed, so it's been very dense on the little drainage line, and it was quite something to get through there. There's lots of leaves all over us and all over the bonnet, but it's the price we pay to keep up with Shadow. So luckily we still have her and we're still going, which is great news. And she's still moving southwards. I'm hoping that she's going to keep going or not. That's it. Maybe she's decided that's where she wants to lie for now. So, Laura Moore, you're asking me if she headed towards water. Well, when we got to that drainage line, it looks like she had a little drink in the drainage line. She might not have. I couldn't see nicely. It was lots of reeds, but maybe she had a drink there. But otherwise, yes, she's heading towards two big mud wallows that are going to be off on our right-hand side. And then there's a big dam not too far from here called Red Dam on Arathusa. So she could be heading to either of those. But generally at this time of the year, when there's lots of little puddles around, the leopards like to drink out of those more. They know it's safer. They know there's no threat of crocodiles in a small little mud wallow as opposed to those bigger dams. So you find they only really drink at those bigger dams in the winter months. Generally in summer they find small areas or puddles or riverbeds where they can go and find water there. Looks like maybe she's decided it's time for a rest. She's decided we've been following and walking too much this morning. Now time just to get that coat nice and groomed. And isn't she beautiful now that she's lying down? You can see she's very agile as well. She's able to bend her neck in all kinds of ways to be able to groom herself. Oh, a bit of hair stuck in the throat and the tongue. So you'll find with that rough tongue that sometimes hair gets caught in it and then they have to try and kind of get rid of it, and they pull the funniest faces trying to get rid of those fur, sort of, I suppose fur ball is the right word for it, that get caught up in amongst the teeth and the tongue. Very funny to watch. So, consulting detective, you're saying that she looks like she has very little paws. Well, I can tell you that those paws, while they do look small, are not that small at all. If I had to put my hand there, or my arm, they would probably be about this. Her forearm would be the same thickness as my forearm, and those front paws are quite large. It just looks like that because we're comparing her to things like Tingano. Tingano's a big boy, so he's got massive paws in comparison. So she is a small cat, but her paws are still quite big and more than powerful enough to deal with anything that she needs to deal with in terms of being an adult female. Like I said, I've seen her sister Tundi, who's a similar size, bring down a fully grown female kudu, so those paws are more than powerful enough. So Beth, we're talking about male and females, and you're wondering about the tracks and how we tell the difference. Well, a female leopard tends to have very much smaller feet than what the male does. So as I was saying, if we compare to somebody like Tingana, his feet are very large. So if he puts a track down, immediately you know it's just far too big for a female. So it's much, much larger. If we're looking at young males and a adult female, then sometimes they can be of the same sort of length. But a male tends to have a much rounder appearance to his front foot, whereas a female's is more sort of oval shape to her foot. And then also on the back pads, the female's has a very angular back section of her pad, whereas a male has a very rounded back section to his pad. So it's a very different track. And like I say, the female's tracks are a lot more slender, a lot more elongated, whereas the males tend to be rounder, bigger. And once you see the two of them next to one another, you can actually see the difference quite clearly. But it's quite hard to show you that scale of size, other than if we use maybe my finger or something like that. And I'll try see if I can find a female track and then a male track at some stage, and then show you. So if you keep watching Beth, then I will definitely try and show you physically the differences between the two. I don't know if I've actually got my tracking book with me, and then I can actually even show you in a book. Hold on, let me have a look. I think I put my tracking book in the other day. I just need to see if I did. So the nice thing about my tracking book is that it's got all the different tracks for all the animals and how you can tell them apart. But I don't know if I put it in. Hold on, it might be at the back here. So I've got a big box of books that I carry around with me these days, which is quite nice because it's waterproof, so I can take all my books with me, which makes me very happy. Sorry for all the rattling, I do apologize because that's me playing around trying to get to all my books. It's in, like I say, a plastic box so that I don't get the books wet, because all my books are so damaged by water that I've tried to now set up a system where I don't have to worry too much. But I don't think I've got my tracking book with me, which is very sad. No, hold on, what's this? Okay, I don't have my book with me, but I've got a little diagram, but I don't think it's going to have male and female. No, it doesn't. Let me just check one other book quickly and see if I've maybe got them here. Sorry guys, I'm sorry for all the cluttering and making of noise and me not being able to find the book that I'm looking for and the tracks that I'm looking for. I was hoping that maybe another book will just have a summary of them, but it doesn't seem to be the case. No, I unfortunately don't have the difference between male and female with me. I shall bring it this afternoon. I'll check at home to see if I've got it, and then I'll bring it out this afternoon so that I can show all of you, so that we can see the differences quite clearly in a book. But unfortunately not with me now. Very sad, very, very sad indeed. So sorry about that, Beth. Like I say, this afternoon I shall definitely have it out, and I will show you this afternoon, and then we can go through the difference between the two, and it will be much easier for you to see and understand what I'm talking about. Because even on the roads, if I find a male and female track, which is not that common to find them side by side, but if I did, it's also sometimes quite obscured, so it's not much nicer to look into a book. So I will definitely try and find that this afternoon for you. Meanwhile, Shadow is still regally taking it easy, grooming. She's not interested in our tracking talk too much, and has decided that this is where she's going to have a little grooming session. So HKP, this is an interesting question because you're asking whether leopards in Asia are smaller than those in Africa. Well, it's difficult because I haven't seen leopards in all parts of Asia, but from just talking to some of the friends that I've had that have spent time there, and talking to some guys that we had recently that visited us from Sri Lanka, we discussed weights and sizes of leopard, and it seems like in the sort of savanna areas of Asia, so in Sri Lanka, in Yala National Park, and in India, in Djuma, the male leopards tend to seem to be the same size, so they tend to weigh very similar to what ours do. So they are then very big, because the savanna leopards here in Africa are known to be some of the biggest because of the amount of food that they're able to find and the large size of the food that they get. So they get a lot of protein when they're young, and therefore they grow much bigger than the leopards in the mountains and in the desert areas. Oh, I think she just got bitten by a biting fly. That's why she jumped. Hello, girl. So to answer your question, I would imagine that actually no, they're very similar. It just depends on the environment more than anything else. So even here in Africa, we've got a huge disparity between sizes. So if you go into the Cape leopards, which are in the Outeniqua Mountains, those males there will be the size of Shadow. So very small compared to... So Penny, you were actually asking about these Cape leopards, but the males will be the size of Shadow. They'll weigh 40 kilograms, whereas our male leopards out here are weighing 90 to 100, so much bigger up here. And the females, they are light. They're between 18 and 25 kilograms, whereas our females here are sort of between 35 and 50. So it's a very big difference between those mountainous leopards and these savanna leopards, and I would imagine the same rings true for Asia. It depends on where they're found, what the availability of food is, and the areas that they traverse. Because mountain leopards can't be big bulky animals like these are. They also have very limited prey in comparison to what these leopards do. They'll be feeding off little rock hyrax, shrews, mice, birds. There's no big impalas and kudus and bushbuck and duiker all in those areas. So their food items are much smaller, and you'll find that they'll probably hunt more frequently, but just smaller items, whereas our leopards here have the luxury of feeding off big carcasses. And I would imagine, like I said, that the same rings true in Asia, where in Yala National Park or in Chitwa, they have quite large animals that they can go after. So a lot of deer that they can hunt, and that will mean that they then get the size much like what we see here. And there we go, grooming is done, time to carry on. She's satisfied that she's gotten rid of whatever was bugging her on her coat, and we're now back on the move. So I'm really hoping that she's going to take us to answer the mystery as to whether these cubs are still around, how many there are, because no one's been able to check. Like I say, the track that I found looks like only for one, so I'm hoping, really hoping, that there is two and that I've just missed a track. But if there is one, it would be nice just to see how it's doing and see how it's developing and see what kind of character it is at the end of the day. Also, if it's a relaxed animal, if it's going to be still very shy, it would be nice to see what eyes it's got. Now the eyes should be starting to change from the sapphire blue when they're born into the sort of browns and yellows that we see. But look at that. Look at how she just disappears through that grass. So if you had to drive past now, imagine trying to spot that. There she goes. You see her ears there in the distance? But it just shows you why it's so tough for us at the moment when it comes to tracking and being able to follow these animals through these thickets. We'll just keep up with her now. As I was saying to you earlier, from here she just cuts straight diagonally. Well, thank you, Taylor McCurdy. That's very kind of you. It feels like it's been a tough job following her, although she's not been too bad. She could have gone through a lot worse than what she did, so she wasn't too unkind to us. She's let us follow her a lot on the roads, which has been very nice. But I'm a little bit disappointed, if I must be honest, that she didn't go into that then site close to Red Dam and then head into and call it cub. I must be honest, if that had happened, I would have been so excited. So I'm a little disappointed that she didn't, but it has been so fantastic to follow her the whole morning. She's not a cat that we get to spend much time with because she typically is quite elusive, particularly in these summer months. She's tough to be able to stay with, and she often moves in the most thick, dense bush possible. So it's really nice to have spent some time with her. Now, the reason why I'm going the hard way around now instead of the nice easy way is because there was a beautiful big spider there that had a nice web, and I didn't want to break its web, so I'm going the hard way through. So I do apologize if there are any bumps or branches in the way and that we don't see Shadow for 2 seconds. I know some of you may think, why would I care about an ugly spider? But spiders are awesome, so we've got to have spiders out here, and especially those golden orb webs. They're such incredible creatures and so pretty that it's really good to be able to just not damage their webs. And they've had a tough run of it. Through the dry periods, they've battled to sort of proliferate, and we've been seeing very few of them. So when you see a big, beautiful female like that, then it's always good just to let her stay and let her have a time to have her web and not influence anything. Now I'm going to try and see. I was hoping she was going to come to this big fallen over log. Wouldn't it have been incredible if she'd come here and up onto the log? Now she's not actually too far. She's right here. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to call that she's going to come towards our log. Now she might not jump on it, but I think she's going to scent mark on it. And at least if she does go on, we'll be in perfect position to see her go onto that log, which will be fantastic. Now, let's see where she goes. She's just lurking in the grass there. She's just sitting watching in the grass, and look at how she disappears. Isn't that camouflage amazing? Now she's coming the right way. Let's see if we've called this right. I reckon that if she doesn't go on it, she's definitely going to scent mark on it. Come on, prove me right, Shadow. Or maybe not. No, she's decided she has other interests, and that is going around to the other fallen over stump maybe. So there is another big fallen over stump here that she might be heading to. I'm just going to try and see. No, not interested in the stumps today. Now, if she were a cheetah, we would have had perfect visuals of her on the stump, because the cheetahs love to go onto a stump. They're always up on these fallen over stumps. So I was hoping that Shadow was going to be obliging and do the same, but she's on far too much of a mission this morning to do that. So I think we'll just have to carry on following her and see where she ends up. Now we are moving towards Knobthorn Pan, so I wonder if she's not going to go and drink there. Now, talking of all these little things and spiders and how important it is to have these little things and to respect them, I believe Byron's got lots of little things to show you, so let's go across to him and see what he's going to give us.